My 23 male, GF 24 female, says she'll leave me if we're not married next year. What should I do?
Update. So this blew up quicker than I expected.
Gonna give context on some stuff since I didn't explain it well.
This is my first ever Reddit post. 1. I do want to marry her. I think I've shown commitment since I am paying for the ring. She knows about it.
Something quite a few comments assume is I don't want to marry her and I'm dragging her along. That's not the case.
2. I had already planned to propose at the end of this year. She threw this in my face and it caught me off guard.
But not only that, she's saying she wants the wedding next year.
3. I said at least 25. Something I have reaffirmed to her for our entire relationship. Something she agreed with up until last year. 4.
Saying she is financially dependent on me was the wrong way to put it.
She is paying for most of her bills and I just help out with the rest. She has a job. She's not bumming off me. She doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. 5. We live in the US. It's hard to afford stuff right now, especially being this young.
6. She wants to start having kids at 30. Which is fine with me. 7.
I'm not willing to give up 3 years over something like this. We'll go to a therapist before that decision is made. I don't think I should just give in, but I am willing to compromise at this point. 8. I can give an update after I talk to her, but it'll be on my page as per the rules of this subreddit, only allowing one update per post.
I have been with my girlfriend for 3 years.
We have a very healthy relationship. Hardly ever argue about anything, and when we do, we communicate it well. We have similar interests and spend most of our free time together.
Never have had a major problem before. Despite this, she told me if we're not engaged by the end of this year, then she's going to break up with me next year. At the beginning of the year, she told me she wanted to be engaged this year, so it hasn't caught me off guard. But despite repeatedly explaining my feelings and reasonings, she still pushed me to this. When we first started talking, I told her I wanted to wait till I was at least 25 to be married, and if she doesn't like that, then we shouldn't date. My reasoning is for financial stability, assurance, and the simple fact I want to live alone and be financially independent for a while.
Along with other personal reasons. Well, of course, she said that was a great idea and she agreed.
But after like a year or two, she started trying to get me to agree on marriage sooner.
I've never wavered on it and always reminded her of when I first brought it up.
Not saying I'd leave her, but she needs to respect my boundaries. Well, now she has stopped asking and just tells me and everyone else that we're getting married next year and we'll be engaged this year.
Thing is, I am already paying for the ring and plan to propose this year, but didn't plan on getting married next year. Since she has said she'll leave me, though, has given me second thoughts. She thinks getting married at 25 is way too late to be getting married. But I've explained to her that if she plans to be with me for the rest of our lives, then 25 is young compared to the rest of it. My reasonings always seem to fall on deaf ears. She also has family and friends asking her when we will get married, so I think she feels some pressure from them also. Like maybe she's worried about her image? But she also sees her high school friends either getting engaged or married and never fails to bring it up. She's already financially dependent on me, so maybe that's part of the reason. Her telling all family and friends that she's getting engaged and married next year is really disrespectful and bulldozing over you. This is a red flag. It shows she's willing to just do whatever to get what she wants despite what you want and have repeatedly said. I would reconsider this relationship. UPDATEME. You two are no longer compatible. You have an excellent head on your shoulders at 23 years old, and you are absolutely on the correct side of this discussion. She thinks getting married at 25 is way too late to be getting married. Yeah, if this were the 1800s. People are regularly marrying in mid-30s now, not 20s. But she also sees her high school friends either getting engaged or married and never fails to bring it up. Yeah, half of which will be divorced in 10 years, or living miserably together because they don't believe in divorce. Marriage isn't magic, it's a terrible decision for around half of people who make it. Better to be more informed and stable when you make it, instead of rushing into it. If you can't agree on when you should get married, then it sounds like you're no longer compatible. If you won't budge, which I think is the right call at your age, and she won't budge, then the next step is breaking up.
It's unfortunate, but sometimes we're mostly compatible with someone except for something that is just not something you can compromise on.
She wants to be married before she's 25.
You don't.
There's no middle ground here.
You've both explained your sides and neither of you can budge on this, so you either part ways now and look for someone more compatible, or you stick it out and slowly start to resent each other more and more until one of you finally breaks it off in anger.
Imagine you're older with your grandkids and they ask Grandpa, "How did you marry Grandma?" You say, "She forced me to or she would leave." Love story for generations. You're not compatible. I don't think she's wrong for wanting to get engaged 3 years into a relationship.
She is probably afraid that she will end up like women who are with their partners for a decade and they won't marry them and they end up doing a lot of wifely duties. I can also appreciate that you don't want to get engaged right now and want to experience certain things and get things in order before taking that step.
I think the only thing you can tell her is that you won't be proposing in the next 2 years, and if that's not acceptable to her, then the relationship needs to end.
My 33F partner, 33M, says I triggered him to put his hands on me. How do I approach this? IDK if I'm looking for advice.
I'm just venting, but feel free to say what you want.
Earlier today, my partner, 33M, of 8 years and myself, 33F, got into an argument in front of our child, 6.
It wasn't anything too bad at first, but was beginning to escalate. My partner started mocking me, something he knows I find to be very disrespectful and triggering. As he got up to leave, I threw a piece of food on the floor.
That really triggered him and proceeded to put his hands around my neck and pushed me off of the chair. He continued to push me when I'd get up and squeezed my wrists and put his hands around my neck again, saying he could kill me, and asked why I put him in this position knowing his temper.
When we were initially arguing, he asked that we save the argument for another time and not in front of our child. So he was pretty much telling me that this is my fault and I kept egging him on and that he'll never forgive me for making him do this in front of our child. Since I'm required to ask a question, my question is:
how do I approach this?
Edit.
Thank you everyone for the comments.
I am a bit overwhelmed. And I asked this question genuinely because he did a good job of convincing me that it was my fault and that I am the problem. Luckily, we do not live together. We used to, but broke up for a period of time and wanted to try again. Conversations and discussions seemed to be flowing in a more healthy way. It was easy for him to convince me that I was the antagonizer due to him trying to end the argument prior. Strangulation is the highest predictor of future murder in DV situations. Google it. Then leave. Look what you made me do. Men who put their hands on their partner's throat are 8 times more likely to kill them. This is number 1 indicator of lethality in intimate partner violence. Leave while you still can. This is what you do. You take your son with you and you go to the ER immediately to make sure he did not damage your throat or wrists. You tell the ER nurses and doctors the truth that your partner did this to you and that it happened in front of your child. When they notify the police, you also tell them the truth that your partner did this to you and that it happened in front of your child. You encourage your child to talk to the nice policeman, woman, and tell them what happened at home. You call a friend or family member and explain what happened and stay with them. You press charges against your partner and leave them. You leave. Sure, you triggered anger in him, but throwing food during an argument. He is the one who chose to manifest this anger by threatening to kill you while putting his hands around your throat. He could have chosen to take deep breaths. He could have chosen to walk away. He could have chosen to say, "I'm very angry right now and it was not okay for you to throw food while we were arguing." Believe him when he tells you who he is. Don't teach your child that this is how people in love behave. You have 2 options. 1. Taking the child and running ASAP. 2. Waiting for him to murder you. There's no other choice. Leave and take the child. This is outrageously abusive. 32M husband is making huge life decisions without me. 26F. What should I do? I 26F have been with my 32M husband for nearly approximately 6 years. About 1.5 years into our relationship, he quit his well-paying job to pursue working on a ranch out of state. We had a serious talk about if I wanted to keep dating him, move in with him, and become a part of that lifestyle. I had grown up rurally, but didn't know much about cowboying for a living. This was essentially an ultimatum of breaking up, or trying it out. He wasn't going to stay. I planned to follow,
and about 4 months after he left, L ended up quitting my well-paying job. I wasn't able to get approved for a transfer and gave up after 4 months, to follow him. 8 months later, we got engaged.
Fast forward 5 years and we've moved 5 times, as is the life with cowboying. Most cowboys don't choose to spend too long in one place.
Once they learn all a place has to offer, it's time to move on to the next place. The more perspectives you get on ranching, and the more you learn, the better boss you'll make someday. Each move was rough on me.
I was having to find new jobs in each state, make friends, and then leave that all behind when he told me we were moving on. I would get some input on where I wanted to go next. He would show me photos and maps before applying for a new job, and I would go along for the in-person interviews. But other than approving, disapproving a location, I have never gotten any say about how long we stayed anywhere.
I felt unimportant in the relationship, and started resenting him for making it impossible for me to have a steady career, or friends.
I enjoyed seeing new country, but I wanted to be able to call somewhere home at least for a few years.
We went to therapy for this, and extensively tried to work on our communication.
The job we are at now was supposed to be long-term.
He's a manager here, and gets to make decisions.
It's everything we've worked towards the last 5 years. It's everything he ever wanted.
Of course, with us moving so frequently and me being out of a job so often, we've climbed our way into some pretty extensive credit card debt.
About $30,000 left over among the two of us. Throughout the last year, I've been pushing hard to limit our spending and make progress on getting those paid off. He has paid off $12,000 on his cards, and I have paid off $10,000 on my cards so far, and $4,000 of his. Yes, we have split account and haven't gotten around to changing any of that.
But suddenly, he's ready to quit this job and move back to the city to work a better paying job. He's telling me he doesn't like his job anymore, or anything that comes with it, the horses that he spends every single day working with, and even the cowdogs we have. These are animals that he takes huge pride in, that he spent his whole life. He used to do a little bit of cowboying for his family growing up, raising and training.
And he doesn't care about any of them anymore. He's ready to sell them, use the money to pay off our debt, and live in town where we won't need the horses or dogs.
He told me that he wants to be able to go on vacation without finding someone to feed the animals. This total 180 degrees has shocked me, and after deciding to leave the town life to be with a cowboy, in a him as a cowboy or nothing ultimatum, and then shaping the past 5 years of my life around this lifestyle, and actually falling in love with it.
I'm pissed. This is my identity now, not just his. I have built an entire ag-based business that allows me to stay at home, because we live so far from town, and this is the first year that I'm rolling in the dough.
I made it. I'm successful now.
We made huge strides on our debt this year. And now he just decides that he's over it.
And again, I don't even get a say. He's already applying for job and spending money for certifications for jobs he's interested in. After having no choice in moving during the last 5 years, being promised stability in this new job, creating a business that would let me live this lifestyle, and now having no choice in leaving this industry altogether.
I think I might be done.
We've had conversations about how against this I am, and we're now to the point where he kicked me out of the bedroom tonight because he thinks I've been excessively mean and rude to him all week.
All I have been going is trying to make sure he fully thinks about this life-altering decision before selling animals he won't be able to get back, and quitting a manager's job that has been perfect. And I may have told him that I don't believe he'll hold down a town job for more than a year considering his track record of getting bored. Quite frankly, I think he's just upset that I'm not just going with the flow and accepting his decision on this one.
But I am so tired of having to build a new life for myself every year. We don't have kids yet, and I've been finding myself thankful that we've struggled with infertility.
I have thought about leaving him before over him making all the decisions for us, without me, and against my wishes, but I think this is the point where I need to decide what I want the rest of my life to look like. I know this post has been significant other long, but I wanted to clearly explain where I'm coming from. If you can offer any advice, I would be very grateful.
Should I test out how town life goes?
What's another year? Or what made you decide on getting a divorce or not?
I need all the help I can get as I haven't been able to fathom bringing this up to my family yet, and can't talk about quitting this job to any local friends in case it gets back around to his boss. Loudly crying. There's no way I'd keep hitching my wagon to his falling star.
I mean, would it be shitty pulling the first ultimatum on him like he did at the start to basically hold this relationship hostage? If you did, I would not blame you.
We need to have an actual discussion about this, and you need to take into account my feelings and thoughts.
Otherwise I don't see this going any further.
You don't get to just make all the choices and not consider what I think. That's not what a marriage is.
It's a partnership, and that's what I signed up for.
Why do I get the feeling he suddenly wanted change because you're making money?
I'd be done too. I would be walking from this guy for good.
You were willing to give up a lot to follow him and let him life out what he wanted to do, but now he has changed his mind and wants to leave it all behind. You again need to go along with that decision? Where is the compromise from him?
If he can't value your opinions, there is no respect.
Thank you guys for all the comments.
I have had so many reasons why I didn't want to call it quits: shame, guilt, feeling like I didn't try hard enough, missing his family, disappointing mine. But I'm also recognizing that what I originally fell in love with him for isn't part of his personality these days.
Acquiescing to the first ultimatum probably solidified in his mind that it's his way or the highway.
He wasn't considering your feelings then, and he still isn't.
Concerned for wife's 27F, texting with online gay man friend.
Should I, 29M, be worried? Hi Reddit, looking for your advice.
My 29 male, wife, 27 female, belongs to online communities, like mom groups, where there is a lot of talking about life. A few months back my wife made a friend on there who's a gay man. They have been texting more and more, and now it seems like it's hundreds of messages a day. The concerning part for me is, when we are out as a family, she'll be texting her friend updates of what we're doing, where we are, how she's feeling.
On one recent outing, when she handed me her phone to show me something, a message popped up on the screen. "I'm sorry that made you sad," from her friend. I asked what that was about, and she said, "Oh, nothing." I couldn't help myself. Later on I looked at her phone, and the messages I saw indicated that while we were out, she texted him that she saw something that made her sad, and they texted back and forth about it. I caught the tail end of the convo, but I had no idea that had even happened.
There were a few more examples of this where she shared how she was feeling about something with him and not me.
I feel like we have a strong, healthy relationship and often talk about things, so it kinda surprised me that she's sharing things with an online stranger and not me.
There's also jokes in there at my expense, sometimes initiated by her, sometimes by him, which sting a little, but I don't know if I'm being overly sensitive.
I guess what's bothering me is that more and more, it feels like she's sharing parts of her family and her emotions with this random internet guy, and it's making me a bit concerned. But at the same time, I don't want to curb her friendships or outlets for emotions. I'm confused how to approach this or what yellow, red flags to look out for, in case this is building an actual emotional relationship.
Wondering what, if anything, I should do. I also have to admit that if this was happening with a non-gay man, I'd feel it's inappropriate, and I have no way to know if this guy is actually gay, but nothing in the messages I saw seemed flirty.
He is not gay. I would bet a paycheck on that. That's a bit disrespectful, her behavior I mean. You should definitely sit her down and address the issue directly.
Tell her exactly why it's bothering you and how it makes you feel, and let her know what she should do to relieve this stress from you when she asks. Don't make accusations and start acting out on them, that wouldn't be fair. He's gay, until he's not, and they're fucking.
She's emotionally cheating at a minimum and majorly crossing lines.
Hundreds of messages a day is probably hours of effort. I'd consider that too much and would say she's emotionally enjoying him more than you and putting much more time and energy into him, which is an issue whether he's gay or not. Does she put this much time into all her other friends?
I can't see how she sufficiently would do this and still have you as her number one person.
How would your wife feel if you share your emotions and hundreds of texts each day with another woman that claims to be lesbian? Especially if you no longer share your emotions with her? How would she react if you initiate jokes with that woman at your wife's expenses? Would she be okay with that? Yeah, dude, be upfront and tell her you feel uneasy. You can always flip it around and ask how she would feel if you always texted a friend who is a girl every 5 millions who you had inside jokes with. If that doesn't work, you can try to find out who the guy is and confront him to make the decision for yourself if you think he's gay. But if she is speaking to a gay guy, straight guy, or even a girl about things constantly instead of sharing things with her husband, I am not surprised that you're concerned.